Welcome back to another episode of Excuse My Grandma. It's Kim and my co-host,
Grandma Gail.
So Grandma Gail's now a TikTok star.
I can't believe it. I didn't even know what TikTok was.
Well, I feel like every time you ask me about it, you don't even call it TikTok. You're like, how's the ticker talker?
No, I thought it was a Tic Tac originally.
Oh, yeah, right.
I thought it was a Tic Tac, but I realized that's a mint. So
and Poppy David was like, is TikTok sponsoring you? I was like, no, this isn't even related.
But I think they should sponsor us since we got, what do we have up to?
1.7 million views on one of our videos.
I can't imagine anybody wanting to watch over 1 million times our videos. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. But anyway, thank you, Mr. Tick and Mr. Todd.
And one of ours also has like over 300,000. I don't know if I told you that.
Well, that's not doing well.
I know, compared to our 1.7 million.
Kimmy, what are we going to talk about this week?
Okay, well, I want to talk about dating types because I was having a conversation with one of my friends this week and she was saying, I only go for athletes, but by athletes in this case, she meant like college athletes, not professional athletes. That's a whole nother story. And I was like, it's so funny because like I have a different type. Other friends of mine have a different type. And I know this is always probably something that's existed, but do you think like the main types of guys have changed from like the 1950s and 60s?
Not at all. No, I think people always were interested in certain types of individuals. If you loved sports as in high school or college, you tended to hang out with kids who had similar interests. So I think that goes without saying. I mean, if you're into the theater and the arts, then you would tend to want to date somebody who was also in that world.
But there's a difference between like enjoying the arts and being like an artsy guy, like a hipster.
Well, that's true.
That's why. So there's like those very specific niche kind of people, and I want to go through the different categories. So let's start, I guess, with the artsy guy, right? The hipster. It's not necessarily like he likes to go to museums. He's just like what? Like a creative kind of individual.
Yeah, he's into but he's going to be creative in his job. He's going to be creative in how he probably dresses and probably
like definitely wears a beanie, lives in Brooklyn, isn't a huge texter, but somehow like responds to everything on social media. I feel that maybe sometimes they have some issues with like commitment because they're like such individual free spirits. Like,
oh, this sounds like a good description. Okay.
All
right. Well, I think I would go for the type that's more slow and steady, like a turtle. The Wall Street guy, the banker, somebody who's gets up and goes to work at 7 or 8 o'clock and comes back.
So in my world,
5.
that's like they live in Murray Hill.
Okay.
They
What happened to the Upper East Side? They don't live up there anymore, I guess.
No, eventually.
Oh, okay.
But we're talking like maybe early 20s.
Oh, all right.
Banker guy. Still is friends with all of his fraternity brothers from college.
I like these guys. That
this
appeals
is
to
so
me.
not me. What else did they do?
Well, do they only go out with sorority girls, or are they looking for a different type? See, that's what I'm fascinated to see.
Which
in the
types?
dating
Like
now.
which types?
Well,
do you have to
words,
like your own type?
No, not. But girls fall into the same categories. I mean, girls are the athletes. Girls are into the arts. Girls are into I don't know, what would you say? Into the stock market, into finances.
Yeah, but true. But I think they have different tropes and connotations associated with it. Like the one who maybe has a good job, or the Upper East Side girl, typically they could be called the high maintenance one or something like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's different when it's a girl with that personality versus a guy with that personality.
Oh, you're doing a dual standard. I'm
not saying I believe this. I'm just saying societally. This is what.
Oh, really? I don't know. I think those things have fallen by the wayside. I think whatever you think about girls now, you think of the same thing about young men. I don't think it's any different. They're all falling into the same categories.
Okay, then riddle me this. I've told you about fuckboys before, right? Like they're the ones they're probably not good for you or your self-esteem, but you think that they're like, just playing around with you. They probably have a lot of girls on the side, pretty like emotionally unavailable, whatever it is. If a girl was like that, we don't call them fuck girls.
Well, I think there are probably girls that are just looking to have a good time while they're developing their careers in whatever area they're interested in. And they're doing the same thing. It's not the same term.
Let's keep going through the other types.
Okay. Well, we've done the athlete. We've done the Wall Street person.
Okay, what about the older guy?
The older guy. Now, what category is that? If I'm in my 20s, does that mean you're going out with somebody in their 40s? Is it a 20-year difference, a 10-year difference?
No, let's give it 10. Oh, say 9+.
Okay. All right. Well, I think then that's a different thing. He or she is probably looking for somebody that is going to really make a commitment, because they've already been out there. They've seen what the good and the bad are out there, and they're probably zeroing in on somebody if they want to have
zeroing in on somebody 10 years younger.
I think that is very attractive. I think from a male perspective, especially, younger women are always more attractive because they're sexy, they're young, they're glamorous, they're not as jaded usually. For a woman to go out with a younger guy, it's very hot. Also, I think that's another, what do they call them, cougars or something?
Yeah.
I think it works both ways, and it's what you're looking for. I think it's trying to balance out what you're lacking in your life, whether it be youth, whether it be a person who wants to have more of a, what would you call it, steady character, and has already developed their personality and knows where they're going, and you like that balance with yourself. That it can be very attractive.
Okay, here's another type though. The perfect guy on paper that you don't have a spark with and you don't know why. Like, the ones who you're like, and he's ready to get married day 2, even though you've been on like one date, and it's like they're perfect in every way for a partner, but you're like, they're not my person.
Well, I think sometimes they are your person, but you don't give them a chance. And sometimes they are so overwhelming in their desire to have a relationship that happens quickly that it turns off the other person.
Yeah.
I think that's a big problem.
That's definitely a type though. Like,
yeah, I like that type, but I guess, I don't know if you can sometimes trust them. They maybe are too eager, and they're also disregarding all of your flaws,
right?
In desperation to have a really serious relationship.
Sometimes
it could be desperate. Sometimes it could really be something that they see something in this person that really sparks their fantasy.
I mean, right. It's like you're allowed to have rose-colored glasses to a point. If the other person is like, take your fucking glasses off and you're not doing it, then that's an issue.
All right. Okay.
Right. Okay. Then there's the last one, guy type I want to do, I guess, is like the show-offy, pretentious, trust fund baby.
Well, I never knew any of those because we didn't really. I guess I didn't go out with any of the Rockefellers in the 50s and 60s, so I really don't know any of that. I
do know people though now. I guess they're not young now, but
now
who have that personality.
Story.
You know that personality.
Yeah,
type
I do
is
know
what I'm
that
saying.
personality, and I'm very wary of that. I like people who, if they do come from comfortable means and they don't have to worry, that they still should have to have some kind of work ethic. Because
when is it ever good to date that type?
If they don't have a job and they don't have some kind of career path, I don't think it's ever good, because they're going to end up hanging out watching what you do all day long, and that's not a very exciting life unless they have really passion for a charity and they give themselves to their fellow man, which many do. I mean, and that's wonderful.
Yes.
So I think it's very individual. I don't know too many of them, so I don't think we should dwell on those.
Okay, so let's go into the types of girls that people can date.
That could be a lot of trust fund girls now.
We got to play both sides here on Excuse Me, Grandma.
Absolutely.
So, like, how about, the bossy one? who's like the dominant one in the relationship.
Some men like it. It reminds them of their mothers.
Okay, what about like the psycho one who like gets very jealous?
Well, you know what? Everybody has a trigger, and that could be scary. They have to have it under control, hopefully. But
yeah, if they're good, if they're brilliant at it, I have the most respect for that. Like girls who can flip it. I love like the conniving girl who's like, oh, okay, you're gonna go hang out with your girlfriends, no problem. Like I actually am gonna go hang out with Jim later, and then the guy's like, oh shit. Like, I think you have to use reverse psychology on boys. Like, don't come off as jealous and annoying and like, why are you doing that? No. Like, nobody likes that. But I think when you can like play the game and flip it, you're really like, that's where the psycho becomes like brilliance.
Too many games here that are being played, but I guess they are today, since nobody wants to be in a relationship for very long. They seem to want to play these games, which is fine. I mean, everybody has to do what makes them happy today. I don't believe in this, but whatever.
What about the girl who's like too nice?
I don't think you can ever be too nice, especially if it's well received.
What does that mean when someone says they're like too nice? What does that mean?
Well, it's like a sugar-coated personality. Everything is wonderful. The sun is always out.
But that's not true. It's one thing I think being positive is a great trait, but I think being too nice sometimes, like, why does that come off as fake?
Well, it doesn't have to be fake, but some people don't. If it's not appreciated by the partner or by the date, then it's hard for somebody who's too nice to be not too nice or mean.
Actually, one of my girlfriends,
it's probably the wrong person for her.
One of my girlfriends said to me the other day, "Oh, there's this guy. Maybe I would set you up with that I knew from school," and told me the details about him. And I was like, do you think he's too nice for me? But then I was like, why did I say that?
I don't know why you said that, because you're always so nice. So I don't know.
I'm nice, but I don't know. Too nice. Sometimes I think it just comes off as like they don't have a backbone.
Well, I think you're generalizing. I think you're generalizing. I don't think that's necessarily so. But you know what? Nobody wants to be a pushover, or nobody wants to feel that they're always lowering their personality in a relationship for the sake of the other person. Mm-hmm. But it really depends on who you're going out with. If they like to have a nice person around and they treat you the same way with niceness and kindness, then why be mean? I mean, to be mean would be the first reason to eliminate that date. If you had to be nasty and conniving and play tricks to get someone's attention, it's too much effort. Too much effort. I mean, you would spend your life trying to figure out all the different ways to get somebody on board, and it's just not. It ends up not being worth it. It's fatiguing. Everybody is attracted to a different type. The scary thing is when you keep getting attracted to the same type, and they end up in bad relationships. I think that's more important. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily the type. It's the failings of individuals who are not really good partners. Whether they be not good dates or not good husbands or not good wives. I mean, there is a pattern, but they tend to go for the same types because that's what they expect is good for them. And they don't see if it's destructive or not.
Okay, lastly, the girl who is your friend with benefits that it's, she's a great girl, best friend, hangs with the guys, but like it would never be romantic.
Well, as long as both people going into the thing say, you know what, we have a friendship, we have sex, we enjoy each other, but that's it.
I feel like every romantic comedy ever has proved that like they fall in love.
Well, because it's very hard to have sex with people and just say goodnight.
A lot of people do it.
Well, I guess they do now, and how's it working for them?
Well, it's part of like hookup culture nowadays, right. Which, I want to talk about that because there's all these dating scripts.
Yeah, what does that mean?
So I was looking at a book that Lisa Wade wrote called American Hookup, The New Culture of Sex on Campus. And it's all about college students, around, people in their 20s and just like hookup culture now in general. In the book, she interviews college students and finds that hookup culture actually has a very set group of social rules. And basically, if in your generation, Grandma, casual sex was kind of a taboo topic, today, emotional intimacy has become taboo. So it's almost switched. So one of the rules that she talks about hookup culture is that it's very important that the hookup is meaningless. So if two college students are going to hook up and they want it to be meaningless, they have to make sure they both are aware of that and everyone else understands that it means nothing. And they do that by either, when they hook up, making sure they're drunk or appear to be drunk. After the fact, that they, give that other person a demotion in their lives. So, don't send them a text, don't talk to them about a lot. Things like that. And I think that's sort of become the norm.
Well, I don't only think it has to do with college students. I think you can apply this same psychology to people in their 20s and 30s now.
100%. I think this is true for us as well.
I think it's and it can be also true for people in 60s, 70s, and 80s who don't want to have a real relationship, just want to.
But it's not that they don't want to be in a relationship. That's the thing. So that's what I found interesting about this, right? Because it's like, this is the societal hookup culture that our generation is taking part in now. I take part in it because I'm in this generation, but do I want a relationship? Of course. So like, who actually likes being part of this hookup culture? And how do you not normalize it? That's the question.
Well, I think it can be very hurtful because usually one partner in these hookups, I have a feeling, cares more about the relationship than the other. I don't know if it can ever be even-handed, and that's what is worrisome. If the whole thing is just fun and games, and you're having a nice time with somebody, and you end the evening with sex and say goodnight.
But I guess
no sleepovers. That's for sure in this thing. I mean, this is strictly flim flam bam and goodbye.
No, but these people have sleepovers. They do the intimate things.
They do,
but are not
thing,
allowed to be emotionally intimate.
Well, I think once you're sleeping over, it becomes intimate. It's too difficult. I think these people, these young kids especially, are not emotionally ready to get up out of bed and go home and not think about it the next day. I don't care who you are. I think it's very difficult unless you're dead drunk and don't care. And then I feel sorry for them. But if they're having sex on a constant basis with the same person and saying it's nothing, I don't believe that. I really don't. I think the human being is just not set up psychologically to let that thing go on.
Especially, I feel like, at least for women, I feel that we're faced with two options. One is that we don't participate in this hookup culture, and then that means, we don't have any sexual activity at all, which also means never getting into any sort of romantic relationship eventually. And the other option is going through this period with the person, the hookup period, with hopes of coming out on the other end as that person's girlfriend.
Well,
and there's that double standard, I think, that we're like sort of seeing because, I think like, in the book, it was sort of talking about that like this hookup culture can be traced back to the sexual revolution and the women's movement, and that they wanted both sexual and, other liberation for women in every way. Like, it should feel liberating, but I think a lot of young women feel actually a bit trapped in this.
I honestly, I lived through that sexual revolution, and it worked in many respects. In other words, it unleashed women's power, which we didn't have, and which was a good byproduct. But it caused a great upheaval of the family units because women no longer felt that they had to stay at home and raise a family, that they were entitled to go about their business, and if their partner or their husband didn't like it, then that was the end of that relationship. So it wasn't. This goes back to you can't have it all. So you have to, I think, as a young person in here, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, those people are just feeling through relationships. They are just seeing what sexual power is. They're seeing how independence is. They're leaving the family nest and going about on their own. And they're really flying a little.
I don't see people growing out of this in their mid-20s.
Well, I think if they don't grow out of it, then they fail to really seriously connect with somebody, because it has to be more than just a casual sexual fling. It has to be, otherwise then there's no use to having relationships. And maybe that's the case for many people today, that they really don't want to have a steady relationship. They don't want to create a bond where they'll have a family, or they'll move in together and really commit to one another. I think it all hinges on the ability to have a commitment.
But I'm telling you that it is not how it is.
All right. Okay. I'm not arguing with you.
In the book, for example, it says, you tell me if this is wrong, it used to be like around your generation that men would kind of have the power to put women into one of two categories, the good girl or the bad girl.
Absolutely.
So if women were able to like behave themselves, or, act however, I guess, respectfully, she could probably stay in the good girl camp. But today, men have a power to put women into one of these groups, of course, but they basically put all women into the bad girl group, or all the women that they're hooking up with. And then they have the power at some point to decide, okay, I've been hooking up with you for a while. Now I'm going to decide that I like you. Now I'm going to treat you with respect as an equal. And if a woman wants a relationship where at some point she'll be treated with respect and as an equal, then she has to go through that whole period where she's not those things.
I think if anybody goes out with somebody, I don't care what age you are, and your partner does not respect you emotionally and physically, you should get out. I don't care how old you are. I don't care where you're coming from. If you don't respect your person you're having anything with, whether it be a cup of coffee, if it's a power trip, or if it's some kind of perverted sexual trip that you're having on your own, if it isn't reciprocated and if it isn't respected between the two people, then it has to end.
As Wade writes in the book, she says, hookup culture demands carelessness, rewards callousness, and punishes kindness. Both men and women are free to have sex, but neither is entirely free to love.
So she's not, so this author is telling you basically this whole culture is destructive of relationships.
How do we show that like caring is cool?
I think that's taught from an early age.
But it's too late for us, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. I always was raised that you care about the person you're with. Mm-hmm. And I think that has never changed. I don't think I would ever want to be in a relationship that I wasn't kind to the other person.
We're talking about a culture where
they're not dating.
They're not dating. I don't know what they are. Like, I have friends right there. They're exclusive, but they're not boyfriend, girlfriend.
Well, that I don't understand. If you're exclusive, then you're a boyfriend, girlfriend. I don't know how you divide that up into two different categories. If you're exclusive, you don't date anybody else, right?
It's confusing because, like, I guess exclusive, maybe it means sexually exclusive, but it doesn't really make sense because, like, how are you emotionally available? Like, so you're going on dates with other people, but then when you get to a certain point, you're going to be like, can't have sex, I'm exclusive with someone else. Like, it doesn't even make sense.
No, it doesn't even make sense. If you're exclusive, you're boyfriend and girlfriend.
But you're not. Like, people wouldn't be like, this is my girlfriend, Sarah. They wouldn't say it if they were.
They're not going to say, this is my exclusive.
Well, right. They don't say anything. They say, this is Sarah, this is my friend, or whatever it is. It's strange. It's like, if you're gonna,
I think you gotta. I think your young people today have got to figure out somewhere along the line they've got to either be with one person and say this is good, let's continue, or let's go out with a bunch of people and not make a commitment. I mean, you can't have it both ways. You can't say that I'm in a relationship, but I'm going to go out with somebody else too. I think some of these people are just plain confused.
Yes.
I think the word is confusion in dating. They're not quite sure.
Sure of what?
They're not sure of what they want to be. They're not sure if they want to be monogamous or if they want to just play the field. And until they
But if you like somebody, why would you not just be like, okay, let's go? Oh, I know why. There's lots of factors.
What would be a factor?
I mean, everyone's different, but let's say it's like your parents just got divorced and you're just not like there.
Well, they're not in a place where they can have a relationship. So
there's things like that, right? Let's say it's like
of course.
you just started a new job in Texas and you like are putting, you don't have time to like go out and meet people and get there. Like I think there are reasons.
Oh, there are reasons, but a lot of it is excuses too.
Yeah.
Because you know what? People need companionship. Now, everybody needs it at a different level. Some people are loners. Some people like to be gregarious with other people and crowds, and that's very individual. But if somebody likes somebody, you could make a million excuses. There's always going to be a job. There's always going to be a family crisis. If you tend to like somebody, that is surmountable. But
why do you have to be boyfriend and girlfriend? Like, why do you have?
You don't have to be. But the point is, if somebody is exclusive with one another and they're not going out with other people, then you're a boyfriend girlfriend.
Okay, so now I'm thinking about this. I think this is where exclusive comes from. When let's say the two people move at different paces. So let's say like a girl and a guy are going out. She knows date 2. I'm into this person. I want them to be my boyfriend. And the guy's like, I like you, but like I'm not there yet. And she says, well, I really need to know whether you're seeing other people. And he says, okay, well, we're exclusive because I like you, but like I'm not ready to be like you're my girlfriend.
Well, so I think she's rushing it. I think that.
Obviously that was an extreme of 2 dates or whatever. But let's say it's been 2 months.
Right. Well, I think that's an individual thing. I would hate to think that if I was dating somebody and of course having sex and with that person as well, I would not feel comfortable if he was also sleeping with somebody else, and I would expect him not to be comfortable for me to sleep with somebody else if we really liked each other.
But how would you know if they were?
I think I would ask.
You would ask?
I think I would say, listen, are we together as a team? I don't mean that we have to get married. I don't mean that at all. But are we dating exclusively and not dating others right now?
And let's say he's like,
you can't date. Over the years, you could have a lot of exclusives.
Yeah, but of course, like, the person will be like, okay, yeah, I'm not dating anyone else right now. It's like, okay, that doesn't mean next week.
I think while somebody is psychologically involved, and I think a lot of it is psychological. You can't emotionally be involved with 3 people at the same time. You could, if you're casually dating, that's another story. Then you can casually date as many people as you want. I mean, that's fine. But once one person now likes want to take the relationship a little bit further, they got to touch base with their partner and say, listen, are you on the same page with me, or are you not there yet? If he says he's not there, or she says she's not there yet, then you have to date other people. You have to back off, and they are entitled to date other people, and you have to realize that.
Right.
Then you have to realize, well, I'm going to take a leap forward. I understand what he's saying, and if you like him enough to stick in that relationship, then you do. Otherwise, you just say goodbye. Everybody says goodbye today. There's a very big waving of goodbyes, I notice.
What do you mean?
I think people say goodbye very quickly, whether they're nervous that it might be more serious than they thought it would be. So I think that they're a little fast on the trigger to say goodbye. When I was dating, we could date somebody for a year because we didn't really have sex with them.
Yeah, that's so funny. Like, a lot of my girlfriends will be like, why do I need to do a second date? Like, I was like, well, why wouldn't you?
But why wouldn't you? Because you really don't know them.
Right, because they're like, I'm not in love.
How do you not know how do you know somebody on a 1 or a 2 or 3rd date? You really, it takes a while to understand somebody's likes and dislikes, whether they're nice, whether they're not nice. If somebody's a murderer, forget it. I mean, you know that a psycho right away. But if somebody is just a nice person, it takes time to develop a relationship. I don't see it happening on 2 and 3 dates. I think that's unrealistic. All right, Kimmy, what do you think advice we should give to this generation?
Get in or get lost.
I don't think they're in this generation at all. They don't get it. And I think they're wandering around like in the desert looking for some kind of panacea that they're never going to find. And I wish them well. I hope that
But it's a lost cause, losers.
It's not a lost cause, but it's a very long struggle to get through the desert because you can't, if you don't touch somebody emotionally, and if it's strictly a sexual relationship and you don't have any feelings other than that, it's
maybe what people think is to touch someone emotionally, you have to touch someone physically first. That's what hookup culture is.
I understand that, but once you've hooked up, then that's it. You could just hook up with a million different people, and then you'll end up having no relationship with anybody, if that's the lesson to be learned from that, because it's really just gratification. It's the most narcissist kind of philosophy I ever heard. It's really not of any nothing more than just
it also it doesn't make you special or mean that they are into you, because guys would really hook up with like anything.
Yeah, so would some women.
What?
And so would some women. I think the whole thing has basically reduced sex to just nothing meaningful. It's just, okay, let's say goodnight, let's have sex, I'll see you tomorrow. To me, that's very sad. Mm-hmm. But I think once you get out of the college mode and you get into the real world and you have real situations and you have life experiences and you've got a job and you've got all these other forces around you, I think then relationships become a little more serious because you're looking for the next steps. You're not just looking for a casual relationship. So I think it's stages. Yeah. I think it's stages. It's just like passages, what we used to call passages. This is a different passage. I think the passage of strictly sex is one
But for some reason, it's more acceptable to stay in this passage for like a long time. Like, I've obviously dated guys in their 30s who are still in this passage.
Well, because they'll never grow up, probably.
Right, and that maybe that was just like Peter Pan syndrome.
Exactly. I mean, I think guys in their 30s who are doing this are just, they're never going to.
It seems like there's more of them. I mean, maybe there's always been, since the beginning of time, there's always some guys who were like that.
I think they're
who
just
are like
immature.
forever bachelors.
Yeah.
But like, seems like there's more and more of them.
I don't know. I see an awful lot of young people who are pushing baby carriages and going with their wives and husbands on Madison Avenue and Park Avenue and First Avenue and Second Avenue, and have made
all the avenues.
All the avenues. West Side, East Side, Lower Manhattan, Upper Manhattan. They seem to find
it must be my 5-block radius that everyone's single.
Well, that could be.
Maybe I have to move. It'll fix my problem.
All right. Okay.
Okay, let's get on to our 50s rom-com movie of the week.
People really look forward to this, Kimmy. So what do you?
Oh, really?
What do you think? Yes. Somebody said to me the other day, "I love your movie selections." So let's hear what you're suggesting.
I've loved these movies forever, so I'm happy to share them. I watched the other day That Touch of Mink. 1962. I know it's 60s and not 50s, but same thing. Doris Day and
Rock Hudson.
No, oh my gosh,
no,
my favorite, Cary Grant.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, he was much older than she.
Yes, much, and it played into the role. He was like, so we're choosing this one because he fell into the type of the, show-offy, pretentious rich guy
and the younger girl.
The girl who's also, she was very anxious. Remember, she like breaks into hives when she finds out they have to share a room on the vacation. And he was kind of like, oh wait, this is also perfect about our exclusive conversation, because remember she was like, he was like, will you come to, I think it was Italy. I forgot where they went on vacation. Will you come with me? And she said, are you asking me to marry you? And he said, no, I'm just asking you to come on vacation.
Yeah, but that was very, very much the time. Nobody would go away with somebody unless they were engaged or getting married. So,
right, but it's the same thing now, where it's like the same theme of, oh, you're asking me to like do these things with you? Does that mean we're boyfriend and girlfriend? No, it doesn't.
Well, if it doesn't, I wouldn't go on the vacation.
Well, she went. It's a good movie, though.
Yes. And the clothes are beautiful. Doris Day always had the most fabulous outfits.
And she's so likable because she wasn't like intimidating.
She was the girl next door. That was her role. Mm-hmm. That's how she played it.
So that's called That Touch of Mink for people who want to watch it.
Okay, enjoy, everybody.
And that's another great week of Excuse My Grandma.
Well, I think I'm learning things, but I'm not so sure I'm so happy learning what I've been hearing this week. But everybody, take care, and we'll see you next time.
And follow us on Instagram at Excuse My Grandma and on TikTok at Excuse My Grandma. And DM us any of your questions that you might have for us to answer on next week's episode. Have a great week.